Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Ice the Kicker. My name is Glen alongside Matt Farrar. Another amazing week in the NFL and an amazing bunch of finishes in the NFL. And we'll get to all of that, but we'll start with the biggest one and one that was close to Matt's heart as he was watching after his Dolphins got another big win with Tua, improving to 3-0 in that Tua era. All of a sudden they're looking at the division like, oh, this is ours to win. And then all of a sudden it looks like, oh, Josh Allen's about to beat the Cardinals. But, Kyler Murray had other ideas and DeAndre Hopkins had other ideas. It was a 32-30 finish on a Hail Mary to end the game. It was just an absolutely unbelievable. I didn't see it live. I was out to dinner and I was watching it. I was like on the Gamecast on my phone. And I think I texted you when Bills went ahead. I was like, oh, that sucks, Matt. Sorry about that. Maybe next week. And then like 15 minutes later, I was like, oh my God. So this obviously affects you and your team much more than it affects my team. Yes. So I'll let you take the reins on this one. Just the roller coaster of emotions you had, just specifically with the Dolphins getting their big win. Mm-hmm. And then waiting to see what happens with this Bills game, thinking, oh, we're not going to gain any ground in the AFC East. And then all of a sudden, bam, the Cardinals pull off this miraculous win. And then all of a sudden, the Dolphins, division hopes are not just a pipe dream. They're an actual, reality.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the division's concerned, Buffalo losing puts them at 7-3, and the Dolphins are 6-3 right now, and they're about to play a most likely Drew Lockless Broncos. Not that he's doing anything special either next week. So, and then the Bills have a bye, and then focusing on the Bills. I mean, imagine having this loss on your head going into the bye week. Like that is so hard.
You got to just sit on that for 2 weeks.
That is just impossible to kind of like have to live with. I mean, you look at statistically, Josh Allen, 32 for 49, 284 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and another 2 picks though. His QBR was 70, and his passer rating was a 77, which is not very good. On the flip side, you're looking at Kyler Murray, 22 for 32, 244 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, QBR 60, and passer rating 88. So both, nothing really special on either side, but I think at least with the Bills and Josh Allen, what he's doing now that he didn't used to do is turn the ball over. Or, I mean, didn't do kind of first half of the season. So the fact that he's turning the ball over a little bit makes me happy as obviously as a Dolphins fan, but as a Bills fan, you have to be a little bit just kind of concerned because again, you look at his last drive to win them the game, an absolute dime to Stephon Diggs, who you gave up a first round pick for, probably was worth even more after his kind of showing so far this year. But throughout the middle of the game there, he is kind of hurting them a little bit. So hopefully for them, if you're a Bills fan, you have to be like, listen, we need to kind of get our shit together just a little bit. Again, you're not hitting the panic button by any means, but the fact of the matter is you kind of have the Dolphins coming down behind you. And then say you lose the division, you got the Raiders, you got the Ravens, you got the Titans, who are all wild card teams right now, not division winners, wild card teams. So there's a slew of teams at that kind of 6-3, potentially going to be 7-3 record right now. But I mean, on the game specifically, just for Kyler and D-Hop to both do what they do. And I'm curious your opinion on kind of who is more important in that play. Personally, I feel like I got to give it to D-Hop, but you also have to give credit where credit's due with Kyler. Like if he gets tackled right there, which you saw he almost did, he put on a little stutter step there, and then literally as he's going to his left, literally just looked like a shortstop, and obviously he's a baseball player, just kind of fading away, launching it up there, and just perfectly dropping it sidearm basically, and it was like 40-50 yards in the air to drop it perfectly in the end zone. Like if that ball's not in the end zone with that specific height, you're not completing it. So it was just what a play, what an absolute roller coaster of a game.
And it was 3 Bills and DeAndre Hopkins in the end zone. So the way that Hopkins was able to just jump over 3 defenders and pull that down, and the way that Kyler was able to get out of there, out of the pocket, and just buy some time so he can throw on the run. If you put a side to side between that play and the Eli Tyree play in Super Bowl 42, it's very, very similar in terms of what each guy had to do, both the quarterback and the wide receiver. Obviously, Eli didn't, run 15 yards down the near sideline to get out of the way, but, escaping pressure, basically closing your eyes, saying a prayer and letting it fly. is what they both did, Kyler and Eli. And then,
Yeah.
Tyree and Hopkins both had a similar kind of had to jump over 2 or 3 defenders to bring that down. And that play affects so many things in the NFL, not just the game at hand that happened that the Bills lost and the Cardinals won, but 2 divisions have been completely changed. The AFC East has been changed and the NFC West has been changed. If you look at the
NFC
schedule,
West is so tight right now.
The Seahawks have come back to earth, and Russell Wilson, who we penciled in as the MVP 3 episodes ago, is not that anymore. And the Bills, who were about to start, keeping pace with the Dolphins surge, now have fallen back a little bit. If that game goes the other way and the Bills win and the Cardinals lose, then the Seahawks aren't as panicky as they are now. And the Bills are staving off the Dolphins, and they're not as worried about Miami as they would be if that game ended differently. So the seismic shift in both of those teams was dramatic, all because of one miracle play. And it's going to be interesting to see, because I believe the Cardinals and Seahawks play on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. That's a huge game that, might not have been as huge if, the Cardinals lost. So I'm interested to see moving forward, when these 2 divisions are decided, how this one play affects so many teams, 4 teams, the Cardinals, the Bills, of course, the Dolphins, and then the Seahawks, and then also the Rams.
The Rams, yeah.
Yeah. So this one play affects 4, 5, 6 teams in the NFL, which is absolutely wild if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it a little bit. The way I kind of watch football games now, I really like to pinpoint certain turning points type of plays. And then when this happened, like, to me, I was just like, and as a Dolphin fan especially, and if you were a Bills or even a Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals fan, you got to sit there and be like, holy shit, like, this one play could change the outlook of the whole entire year this year. Who knows? What if the Cardinals go on a run now and make the playoffs? Because right now they're slated to win their division, which obviously you lose. Now you're behind the Rams and the Seahawks, both by a game. Who knows if the Cardinals kind of go into the playoffs and they make a little run right now. But maybe that doesn't happen unless this play occurs, because just kind of forecasting a little bit, you're assuming that New Orleans and Tampa Bay are going to have 2 teams in the playoffs out of the NFC South. And obviously, and then so it's basically going to be one other team from the NFC West besides the division winner. So it really is crazy to think about kind of the ramifications that happen through one play. And I think that's just the beauty of sports and the beauty of football, especially, that we're seeing, is that one play literally could change a whole entire season, not just for their team, but for, like you said, we kind of like 5 or 6 teams that this affects basically.
Yeah. And if you look more specifically at the Cardinals and how this game affects them, if you look back on what they've done so far this year, they started off winning 2 in a row, then they lost 2 in a row. So they're 2-2. Then they rattle off 3 straight. Jets, Cowboys, nothing to write home about. They should win those games. Then they get that big win against the Seahawks in week 7 going into the bye. So they're feeling good. They just beat, Russell Wilson at the time was playing very, very well, MVP level type of play from Wilson going into that game. They beat them 37-34 in a back and forth game. Really big for the young Kyler Murray to get a win like that. Then you get the bye, and then, no offense to you, a disappointing loss against the Dolphins. So let's call it as it is.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, bam, we're about to lose to the Bills now. So all the good vibes we had from the 3-game winning streak going into the bye are completely gone, because we just lost to the Dolphins and the Bills, 2 teams that we probably should have won if you look at, the talent on the rosters, if you compare them side by side. And then you get that win against the Bills because you come back. All of a sudden, that's big because you play the Seahawks right away. And if you win that game, you have the tiebreaker against the Seahawks because you swept them. And then you get kind of a break against the Patriots. And then you play the Rams right after that. So this win, this win really sets them up to win this division. And at the very worst, gives them a little of a cushion or kind of a safety net in case they stumble against the Seahawks or the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's for them specifically, like I said, their season is going to happen starting with that play that won them the game, and these next kind of 3 weeks. Like you start getting those tiebreakers, like you said, over the Seahawks. That's huge, and not even just for the division, but for wild card if it comes to that. It really is crazy when you think about it and break it down like that. Like just you put together 3 good weeks right here. It could give you some leeway on the back end of the season to kind of tail off if things kind of go off the rails and still maybe end up being a division winner.
And then all of a sudden on Thursday, when it might not have been had the Bills won that game and not collapsed, the Seahawks need to win this game on Thursday.
Yes.
Like it's absolutely imperative that the Seahawks win this game because after that, they have a pretty, easy schedule. They play 4 NFC East teams in a row. Eagles, Giants, Jets, Washington, which is just a godsend for them.
Yeah.
But you still need that Cardinals game because now you don't have that game in hand because you lost to them and the Cardinals just stole one against the Bills. So that's the game of the division that you just lost because you've been playing very, very badly, losing to the Bills, losing to the Rams. And in that Rams game, Russell Wilson and really everybody looked terrible. The defense has been terrible. Russell Wilson hasn't played well in the last 3 or 4 weeks, even though they beat the Niners in week 8. They've lost 3 of 4. I wouldn't panic if I'm Seattle, but I'm sweating a little bit if I'm Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Russell Wilson specifically, because we know their defense is not very good. Even again, I thought Jamal Adams was really going to help them out, but clearly it didn't. So they're probably like, shit, we should have kept those 2 first-round picks. But Russell Wilson has 7 turnovers in the last 2 games. And some of the turnovers, I remember just one specifically in the Rams game, he had a perfect easy first down he could have ran for and threw it across his body, kind of Jeter throw-esque, and it got picked off in the end zone. And you're seeing very uncharacteristic plays from Russell Wilson. And I was watching it might have been Colin Coward who said it, was basically saying, or it's probably Skip Bayless actually. He was saying how Russell Wilson's doing these things because he feels that he needs to do so much more than what he's capable of because the defense is so bad. And I get that. But then again, I feel like Russell Wilson's better than that to really kind of feel that pressure. Like you're given a first down, like you literally had 15 yards to run and you just throw it up across your body. Like that's not Russell Wilson. So he himself needs to figure it out right now because to me, as of right now, his MVP hopes are gone.
Yeah.
And the team itself is riding on him. And that's not unfair to him. That's just how it is. That's the nature of the situation with you're the quarterback on a playoff kind of bubble team.
He seems to be overcompensating, which he wasn't doing early in the year. I mean, you look at their offense against the Rams. It's not showing up for me, unfortunately. But 16 points for, a Russell Wilson-led offense, it's not – you don't see that every single week. Normally, they're putting up points. 34 in a loss against the Browns, 27 in a win against the Niners, 34 in a loss against the Cardinals. They had the bye, 26, 31, 31, 30, 38. Normally, this is an offense that's lightning. Like they score a lot of points and, give credit to the Rams defense. And they're going to have to worry about the Rams because they have a loss against the Cardinals and the Rams. And they don't have the tiebreaker against each of those. They play the Rams in week 16. Obviously, as we said, the Cardinals on Thursday. They need to wake up soon because if they lose that game against the Cardinals, even if they take care of the next 4 games against the NFC East, then you got the Rams and you don't have those tiebreakers. Those tiebreakers are extremely important. And even though it's an expanded playoffs, you'd rather win the division. You'd rather play at home in Seattle, even though you don't have fans. It's still a tremendous home field advantage because all these teams have to travel to Seattle, which is awful. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very important game on a short week for Seattle to get over that loss quickly and to play the Cardinals on the road. The Cardinals are going to be feeling good. They're going to have all the confidence in the world. The momentum's all on their side. And, this is a really big litmus test for this Seattle Seahawks team, specifically their defense, because their defense has not played well. And now you got to go up against Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins and all those guys that they have. That's a very, very tough ask on a short week.
Yeah. Now, again, I want to just segue into a little bit the playoff structure because we obviously reference it. And people, if you guys don't know, it's no longer the 1 and 2 get a bye, and it's no longer 6 teams are in it. It's now 7, and just the first place team or the best team in the conference gets a bye. And there also is no reseeding, so obviously that benefits the NFC East winner because they're probably only going to have 5 or 6 wins at the most. And clearly the team they're playing is probably going to have 4 more wins than them. So I was curious, first off, your thoughts on the the 7 teams and then the first team getting a bye and the other 6 play, and then also as far as no reseeding. Kind of your thoughts on that?
I like the only one team gets the bye. I don't like buys.
Yeah.
They always seem to lose the next week, right?
Hmm.
They always seem
Yeah.
to get the week off and they take a break and at least one team always seems to lose that game after the bye, the divisional round. So
Hmm.
I like only the 1 seed getting the bye because why would you reward the 2 seed? What did they get? You
I
know?
agree. Yeah.
Just the 1 seed. You won the conference in the regular season, you should get the bye. The 2 seed,
Hmm.
I always thought that was stupid.
Hmm.
Reseeding, um did, did they change it in the NBA where it's not automatic top 4 if you win the division?
I thought that's what it was. Because I saw a
It
tweet and
was at one point. I'm not sure if it still is.
it was referencing another sport, how they kind of did reseeding, and that's what kind of made me think of this.
Because, the NFC East team should not host. Like, that's not fair. Like, I know the people on the other side will
Hmm.
say, you play who your division is and you win your division and that's it. It's tough luck that, one division
Yeah.
is far superior than the other. But in today's kind of climate with not only NFL and all sports, like how, other than baseball, how important is what is the division, right?
Hmm.
It never made sense to me. Like, I feel like baseball is different than football in terms of like you win your division because you play those teams 19 times, 19
Yeah.
times 4. That's a huge chunk of your season.
Yeah.
But
Not
basketball, you never
twice.
really play the division. And
Hmm.
then football, you only play them twice, which is only one more than you'd play any other team.
Yeah.
The issue is if you don't do it by division, then all of a sudden you can make the argument, hey, a division winner shouldn't even be in the playoffs in the first place. There's a slippery slope when you start reseeding divisions where a division
Yeah.
winner can get the 7 seed or the worst seed left. And
Yeah.
it's just a slope where I feel like you should just leave it. But I do
Yeah.
like the bye only going to the 1 seed.
Yes, I'm with you half the part there. The 1 seed getting the bye I think is awesome because like you said, being second place, it's like you're getting a bye and you're still getting a home game. Like you're kind of double dipping there for being the second best team out of the 6. Like that to me, it's just way too much. And then I like your point about the slippery slope because, like you said, yeah, say you have the NFC's winner, but they're the 7th seed, then it's like, all right, well, why even have divisions at all? Just do it like hockey does, where it's just East and West, or just AFC, NFC, and then again, it doesn't matter about the division. You might not even have a an NFC's team in it at all. So that's kind of I would that's where the trend would be if you don't reward the division winners. But it is really interesting though, and I think obviously this year is kind of this. I mean, this has to be like the worst team to get into the playoffs of that we're kind of projecting here with the NFC East winner, it being sub 7 wins. So I mean, it does kind of suck when you're going to see a team from the NFC West not make it, and they're probably going to be a 7, 8, maybe even 9 win team, which is crazy to think about. So I still like, I guess, a little bit the division winners getting the home game, just because I think this is just an outlier year. But like
Yeah.
again, if this is something that keeps reoccurring, I think the next time they have their CBA meeting, they should really reevaluate and be like, listen, should we just do conference? Like, does that make more sense? And they kind of
Yeah,
think
that's a
about this.
conversation that the NBA is going to have. If Eastern
Yeah.
Conference teams keeps getting, I mean, they did this year they're going to have a play-in tournament with the 7 to 10 seeds
Mm-hmm.
in a tournament to make the actual playoffs at the end of the regular season. If that works or not, it's yet to be determined, but it's a step forward because, these East teams that go under 500 make the playoffs. And then there's the 9th and 10th seed in the West that's over 500 and they don't make the playoffs. So why don't we just get rid of conferences? Like, I understand the point that these conversations are with all these sports. The better teams, regardless of geography, should make the playoffs. It's not fair
Yeah.
that, the Giants at 7 and 9 can make the playoffs and have a home game against Tampa or New Orleans. That
Yeah.
obviously that's not fair. I don't think anyone's gonna disagree with you when you
Mm-hmm.
say that. But the divisions are there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're already honoring that divisions are a thing.
And also,
So
how often does this actually happen where this division's that bad?
That's my point. So say they kind of amended this, and then it kind of everything went back to normal. You'd be like, oh well, shit, my 9-7 Giants who won the division say maybe don't even make the playoffs now. Like then that's where you kind of run into, and you're like, well, shit, like that doesn't make much sense because now you have I mean, even just financially, you have no representative from the NFC East. Like, and that just kind of totally swipes out the whole credibility of the division from under them. And I don't think that's necessarily fair.
Yeah, and that's not right for the NFL because, the NFC East teams, say what you want about everyone else, the most marketable teams are in the NFC
Oh my,
East. The
you
Giants,
got,
Cowboys, Washington.
yeah, I don't
But
think you could,
that's
again, just,
probably the most profit. If you look at TV ratings, there's a reason why,
yeah,
even though the teams suck, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, they all want those games because,
yeah.
those large Northeast fan bases love their football teams no matter what, their
I would
team
say,
talent is. So
yeah,
if you take
Giants and
those
Cowboys alone.
yeah, if you take all those teams out of the playoffs this year and you put it in, no offense to the Bears who have great fans or the Vikings, but that doesn't, move the needle like the Cowboys or
Yeah.
the Eagles or the Giants do because those
And that,
markets are just so much bigger.
and that's something people need to understand that, again, it is a business.
Business.
Like they're 100, it's 100% a business. Like, you're not going to have a division with, say, the top four most marketable teams in one division. You got to kind of spread out the love a little bit. And that's why like you see, like you were kind of saying before, the like the Vikings and the kind of Bears, like they're lucky that they have a Packers. They are a notorious franchise that has a huge fan base behind them. So each division kind of has that either player or that just historical team behind them. So I think just kudos to just the way the kind of landscape of football has kind of trended, that it still does make sense. Obviously, I definitely would agree though that the NFC East takes the lead as far as marketability and profitability.
Like if you look at the NFC playoff picture now, the Packers would be in the playoffs, obviously. Who would be the 1 seed? I think the Packers at the moment would be the 1 seed, or the Saints. They're both 7-2. Then you got
Yeah.
you got the Buccaneers 7-3, and then you got the three-way tie in the NFC West. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the NFC East team would be the 7.
Mm-hmm.
The 7th team in the playoffs, but they would obviously have a better seed. What team's missing that you need to see?
Yeah. No,
Where
yeah.
you'll just like be like, oh, this is just a farce. This is not fair because the Bears and Nick Foles or Trubinsky, whoever it is, need to be in the playoffs. Like
Yeah.
that's not right.
No, yeah, I'm 100% agree with you
Bears,
there.
Vikings, even the Lions, you can still throw out there. The Falcons and Panthers won't make the playoffs, and then the Niners, if they ever get their act together, I don't know if they will. I don't think they will.
Yeah, they still need a quarterback.
Is there a huge drop off between either of those teams and whoever will end up winning the NFC East, record aside? Not really.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but that NFC East, though, I guess we can segue into the NFC East now because we've been saying it week after week after week after week. Like, if the Giants would just do this, if the Giants would just win this game, if things broke right just this week, then they're in it.
Yeah.
And every week, the Giants haven't won. And then every week, we just have the same conversation. Now, this week, they actually did win. And they won against the Eagles, right? So now at 3-5-1, the Eagles are in first place. And at 3-7, the Giants are in second place. So they're tied in terms of wins, which is insane. Actually, if Evan Ingram caught that pass in Philadelphia, they'd be in sole possession of first place, which just breaks my heart. But the question I'm going to pose to you is more on the Eagles side. Is Doug Peterson's job in jeopardy? Because we've been waiting for the Eagles, who have the healthy quarterback and the Super Bowl winning head coach, to kind of eventually figure it out and run away with this garbage division where every team's terrible and every team's hurt and every team is just dysfunctional, but they never have. And now they're losing to the Giants. And now their NFC East lead is dwindling instead of, getting wider.
And you got Dalton coming back too, so it's like the Cowboys are slaps.
So all of a sudden, the Giants have a bye, and the Eagles, I believe, play the Browns. The Browns obviously above 500. They're, fighting for playoff position. So if you lose to the Browns, all of a sudden it just keeps getting lower and lower. You're leading the division, and Giants have an easier schedule than the Eagles do. Is Doug Peterson, if this team completely collapses and doesn't make the playoffs, is Doug Peterson out, or does his Super Bowl buy him another year?
I think he'll stick around, but if I'm the Eagles, I feel like I would want to kind of kick him to the curb a little bit because it's like the same thing with like the Giants and Eli. It's like how long are we going to hold on to that? Like, oh well, he was a a Super Bowl winning either player or coach, because you got to look at within these past kind of 2 years, like what has he done? And it's just when you look at the landscape of their team, first of all, like they have all the pieces they should need. Like they paid big money to Darius Slay. Your offensive line is still intact. You gave Wentz an extension, but it's kind of not really panning out right now. And then they're going to be in cap hell a little bit at the end of this season with all like the rollover money and stuff like that. I know Jason Kelsey, they deferred a lot of his contract, and that was a hefty contract. And same like Lane Johnson too. So they're going to be at a point next year where they might have to kind of go into a little mini rebuild, or at least they're going to have to cut some salary. And it kind of, you look at Peterson kind of fading. I'm seeing the same thing with Wentz too. And usually,
Wentz
like,
he's
yeah, no, I agree. And it's just like when you watch him play, there's just like nothing there that I'm in love with. Like there really is.
He's extremely inaccurate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up until he's been healthy for the most part this year, knock on wood. But like he always gets hurt in previous years. He's never been able to stay on the field. He overthrows everyone. Like I can't see like the. I think he's just. I'm not gonna say he's done because that's not fair.
Could be done in Philly.
He might be done.
Jalen Hurts behind you.
I mean, where do you see the improvement or the potential in Wentz to get out of this funk that he's in?
Yeah, he looks like he's kind of plateaued a little bit. It's like when you watch him, it's just, first of all, his demeanor just looks like he's defeated. And I know obviously
like a Cam Newton kind of guy. You had that one monster year, and then everything else has just been a steady decline. Like, did we hype him up too much in his first 2 years in the NFL, or?
I think he deserved the hype. I think he definitely did. And obviously, I think going to this year, he definitely deserves some love too. But just throughout this year, again, I'm not really seeing anything kind of too crazy. Like he's not really.
Think the Eagles have loyalty to him. Like he didn't win the Super Bowl.
No, I mean, I think Eagles fans especially are like, well, we did this with Nick Foles, so it's like, is Wentz even our guy? Like I feel like that's been a question even when he won the MVP. It was like, oh, well, like, is he really our guy? And then obviously, yeah, like you said, was Foles kind of leading the charge there in the playoffs? Like that's got to hold some water there too, because you have to ask yourself, would Wentz have done that? And obviously we don't know and we won't know, but it is an interesting argument. But yeah, I definitely think that Peterson is probably on the hot seat. I mean, if you can't win this division and your team, like you have your team, like you're fully healthy, you have Peterson going in on he's on multiple years. It's not like the Giants with their first year head coach. And
all the other teams have first year head coaches.
That's what so there's really no excuse. Like there's just absolutely no excuse.
The veteran head coach won the Super Bowl. You have the big money quarterback. You have all this talent on defense. Why are you 3-5-1? And I agree. Why are you losing to the Giants? You shouldn't be losing to the Giants.
If we want to segue into that, I think with the Giants, and you could take the reins on the Daniel Jones talk, but again, I've been saying it for a little bit now. I really like their defense. I really like their defense. Good. The pressure that they get up front is so good to see with Tomlinson and Lawrence, and then obviously Williams, and you have Blake Martinez there. Just like that play up the middle is huge for them right now. And again, you just kind of keep plugging and playing some other edge rusher guys there, and you have McKinney coming in at safety. Like you have a really kind of solid defensive foundation to build upon, I think.
Yeah, I like the Giants defense a lot. They did not give up a third down conversion in this game. You can say that's on Wentz, you can say that's on the Eagles play calling, but at the end of the day, the Giants defense was, on the field and they stopped each one. And they weren't all like 3rd and 12s. There were some short 3rd and somethings. They stopped a 2-point conversion, which was dumb to even call in the first place, because
But Peterson loves that for whatever reason.
You kicked the field goal to 3-point game. There's no reason to go for 2 there in the third quarter. Just stupid. Like if you want to get on Doug Peterson for something, it's those kind of decisions that he makes, trying to be the smartest guy in the room, that just backfire. But the defense has been really good. They got pressure on Wentz. Bradbury's fantastic. I'm the biggest Gettleman critic, but his moves on defense have been very good. The Blake Martinez signing has been very good, and the Bradbury signing has been very good. So I'm happy with the Giants. I would like to see them get, that big pass rusher to kind of tie up everything together. Because if you have Bradbury and Martinez, and then McKinney turns out to be what we hope McKinney is to be, that's a pretty good secondary from the linebacker to corner to safety. That's a pretty good foundation that way. But then you need to get consistent pressure on the quarterback. So I think if the Giants don't go offense in the draft or offensive line, I think that's where they would go, because they're gonna win themselves out of the Lawrence or Fields sweepstakes.
Yeah,
I think that's where they're gonna go. And then offensively, they've run the ball really well.
I love Wayne Gallman. I think he's
150
killing it.
yards rushing. Jones had 64 of those yards. He had a touchdown run, didn't fall down, so progress.
Okay, tip of the cap.
Gallman had 53 yards rushing. Alfred Morris contributed 34. So they were steady on the ground. And then Daniel Jones, for the second straight week, didn't shoot himself in the foot. That's where Daniel Jones's big critique is obviously he turns the ball over too much. Now 2 straight weeks, he hasn't thrown the ball to the other team. And 2 straight weeks, they've won. So if you want to really, have, cause for optimism as a Giants fan, Daniel Jones has turned it around since that horrible Tampa Bay game. And then the previous games before that, he had a really bad stretch of games with turning the ball over. He hasn't turned the ball over. 21 of 28, 244 yards. Didn't have a touchdown pass. Didn't need to throw a touchdown pass, which is fine.
Yeah.
But hey, that's the way it's going to be right now. Now you texted
if
me
it wins you games.
You texted me this during the game where the Giants were driving down the field. I think they were inside the 10, and they had, quarterback read options each time. And you said something that was true. They don't seem to trust Daniel Jones in big time spots to put the ball in the air. At some point, he's going to have to learn how to do that successfully if he wants to take the next step as an NFL quarterback. Because this isn't a league anymore where you can have a Mark Sanchez kind of just hand it off and go and run your way to the championship game. It's not I mean, it's work with Tannehill, but Tannehill can make a throw if he needs to. Like, you need your quarterback to thread the needle, and you need your quarterback to make big time throws, and you have to have confidence as a coaching staff and as an organization that your quarterback can do that. So it's nice that the Giants won. It's more of a feel good win than the 2 Redskins games have been or Washington games have been. But, baby steps.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things where we have to give credit where credit's due. Like, he's been doing well. Credit to Jason Garrett too for it looks like they have a more kind of similar to like the Buccaneers game where the offensive attack was a lot more methodical, and it seemed to be working out a lot better, trying to get the ball out of Daniel Jones' hands quicker. And obviously it helps tremendously when you have a good run game. So credit to the offensive line for that too. But with and I know like PFF had like their big throw ratings, and he must have been like first in QBs with like 4. But more so with Daniel Jones, I want to see his throws in the red zone. I'm pretty sure we both know he can make throws.
Yeah,
elsewhere.
we've seen him make throws.
Yeah, he has a cannon, and he has some pretty nice touch too. But I think it's those red zone decisions and kind of throwing when blitzed. Now I'm curious because Daniel Jones looks like he's the next Lamar Jackson right now. And we both kind of thought about this and said how, hey, like his biggest issue is fumbling, and you want this guy to run. So, and it's one of those things where it's working right now, and it has for the last kind of few weeks. And it looks like it's something they're going to kind of entertain. But I'm curious how that makes you feel about him just as a quarterback, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to make those big time throws. I would think the running to me is kind of extra. Like it's nice. It's going to win you games probably. But when you think about kind of long term and even longevity, is that the smartest thing for Daniel Jones and the Giants right now? Or even say 2021?
He'll never be successful if he's a run first quarterback. Like that's just not the way that this team's going to operate. It's just not. He needs to learn like how to throw the ball first and then run second.
If he needs to.
But on the touchdown run, he had the football up tight. Where previously it was down, and that's that's the adjustment they made with Tiki Barber 20 years ago. Tiki Barber had a big fumbling problem, which is worse if you're a running back than a quarterback. And then taught him how to hold a ball. And I guess they're doing the same thing with Daniel Jones, because if you watch the replay of his touchdown run, it's like really.
He was like he was crazy, which is good.
Which is good. Like that's what you should see from your 24-year-old quarterback.
Hmm.
Um, what I'm really interested in seeing with, Daniel Jones moving forward is if this read option and this running from him will disappear when Barkley's back. Now, if Barkley comes back, the running plays are going to go to him. I would like to see more of a evenly distributed kind of read option and then because I never saw read option when Barkley was under
Yeah,
behind
it was
center.
just
It was
it's
always
just
just
he's just
give
giving
him
the
the
ball.
ball because why
Yeah.
wouldn't you? So I think moving forward to keep defenses honest, we've seen Daniel Jones have success with these read options. We saw both Eagles games, he broke it off. We saw a Redskins game where he ran 80 yards down the field before getting knocked out of bounds. So when Barkley comes back, how does the play calling change, if it changes? Does
Hmm.
it go back to just, give it to Barkley straight up the middle? That's been the
Hmm.
problem with Barkley the last 2 years, no matter who's calling the plays. Like they don't really have a lot of creative ideas to what to do with Barkley. You have this
Yeah.
like Ferrari, but you don't take it out of the driveway. That's been the
Yeah.
giant problem. So I think it's nice to see what Jones has done with the ball running
Hmm.
when he holds on to it and doesn't give it away. But I think a lot of this, a lot of these plays have been because they've been just so desperate because they haven't had their best player. So when
Yeah.
Barkley comes back, I wonder what happens with Jones and the play calling and if they continue to give him these options where he could run the ball if he so chooses.
I would think. I mean, just say you're a defensive coordinator right now. Like if Saquon Barkley's in the game, you're gonna more kind of hone in on him. So I
Mhm.
think that might even open up even more read options. So it is going to be interesting to see kind of how that works because I mean I as of right now, if I'm the Bengals who the Giants play next, I'm gonna have to put a linebacker, kind of spying Daniel Jones on any run play basically.
And then that,
So
that opens up for the passing game.
it opens up for the passing, the play action, and then it's one less
And
defender
that's what
that
that's
is,
what the,
that is
that's what the Giants wanted when they first got him. This is the big difference between Daniel Jones and Eli Manning. They
yeah. So
saw
I
everything in Eli Manning when they saw Daniel Jones. The
hmm
big difference was that Daniel Jones can move.
yeah
Like I was shocked when like I saw a stat, I don't know which game it was, but his, top speed on that one Eagles run where he fell down, that was
yeah
faster than Lamar Jackson's ever run in the NFL,
hmm
which is
it's crazy.
insane to me. You
Yeah,
would never believe that.
yeah.
So
I think the thing with DJ compared to obviously Lamar Jackson is and other quarterbacks too, like a Kyler, is I don't think the top speed is the issue because clearly he looks like he kind of has the edge on the top speed, but it's his acceleration. So that's I think where the run option is going to kind of falter is because it's going to take him a little bit more to get going than it would another guy, say Lamar or Kyler Murray or someone like that. But I mean, I think for right now, you kind of if it's working, you ride it. You tip the cap to the coaches for making an adjustment but you still you want to see because say you're down points, you're not really going to be doing read options. Say you're down 7 in a 2 minute drill. I don't know if you're going to kind of see that. So I want to
mhm,
see him in the Bengals game. I want to see him kind of still do those read options because if they're going to work, keep doing it. And
mhm.
then if he comes in a situation where he needs to really air it out, I want to see what he does then.
Let's dream a little bit about this Giants season because that's all we can do.
Nothing wrong with that.
We can't tell the future. So they have the bye in week 11, and then the
Mm-hmm.
Eagles play the Eagles play the Browns. Week 12 they have Bengals, and then from there they have at Seahawks, Cardinals, Browns, at Ravens, Cowboys. For them to have any realistic shot at winning this, because of that tie that the Eagles have, makes it a little bit more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
They would need, in my opinion, they have to win the Bengals game and the Cowboys games. Those are the two teams that you're definitely better than, and you'll be
Yeah.
favored when you should be, and you
Mm-hmm.
should win those games. That leaves the Seahawks, Cardinals, Browns, Ravens. So if you win the Bengals Cowboys games, that brings you to 5 wins. So you need two more, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need to at least split.
Because if the Eagles didn't have a tie and they had a loss instead, then you can make the argument that 6 would get you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you need a
Yeah.
7 now because of that tie.
Yeah.
Where do you see those 3?
I
Because you can
mean,
say the Browns. I think the Browns could be that win. But then
I
you
was
got
gonna
to
say
beat one
too.
of these birds teams that are going to be competing for divisions. So Seahawks, Cardinals, Ravens. You need 2 of those 3.
I mean, is it crazy to say that the Seahawks is their best chance at a win there?
Going to Seattle, that's really tough. But yeah, I can see it. I mean, the Seahawks haven't played
I
well.
mean,
We got
the
done
Seahawks
talking about
aren't
how bad
aren't
they've been.
playing well, and the the Giants have a good defense. And I mean, the Seahawks' best part of their game is their offense, which isn't playing well right now. And the Giants have a good defense. I think that is a recipe for success. I mean, Kyler, I think, is an absolute stud, and the Cardinals' offense is electric. So I don't really think the Giants are going to outscore the Cardinals by any means. And the Ravens are obviously a different caliber team than I think the Giants have played in the last 2 weeks with the Eagles and Washington. Buccaneers were a legit team, but I mean these past kind of
But let's pump the brakes on the Ravens for like 1 second because they had a bad loss against the Patriots.
that is true.
They've all of a sudden not looked like the powerhouse that they used to be, a month ago. Now I'm not saying the Giants are going to win that game. I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah,
but
you think they have a better chance than against the Seahawks?
The Ravens can lose to the Patriots. They can lose to the Giants, right? Is that crazy?
How much of a factor do you think the rain played?
I don't know.
Because the Patriots are a run first team, and obviously that to me, the situation kind of played into Belichick's hands. I think a lot there, and you obviously again trying to throw and catch a wet ball is just awful. However, though, I will say that the Ravens' offense, especially, doesn't look that good. I think again, and this happens all the time. We fall in love with these mobile kind of run first quarterbacks, and then teams kind of figure out a script on them. And it's like, all right, well, what do you do when you have to throw the ball? And I think we're kind of seeing right now that like to me, Lamar doesn't seem like a top 5 quarterback in the league right now. As of right now, that's just me. I don't know your thoughts on it.
No, he doesn't. Like, and it fluctuates every single week. Like, at his
Of course,
best, he's probably
of
top
course.
3 quarterback in the NFL right now. If you put Mahomes and like a Wilson or a Rodgers, and then he's right in that top 3, top 5 kind of debate. But we've talked about this before after that Steelers game. He's had these kind of stretches where he doesn't know what he seems to not know what he's doing out there.
Yeah.
The 2 playoff games he's been in. The big Steelers game that could have, helped the Ravens win that division, and then a nationally televised game against the Patriots. He seems to fall or underperform when everyone's watching him.
Yeah, again, there's definitely some truth to that.
Now, lucky for him, that Giants game will be a 1:00 game that it's not a national game. But
that's fair.
You never know. But it's not over for the Giants. They need to get to 7.
No, it really isn't. And get that Eagles tie is such a killer.
I know
that seems to just kind of be haunting them.
There's a bunch of killers. I mean, the Eagles lost that they had. They lost by 1. Ingram catches that ball like we're not talking about this. Like if they win that Cowboys game, we're not talking about this. If they win that Rams game or the Bears game where they had a 4th and goal at the end of the game, if they score a touchdown and win the game, we're not talking about this. We're talking about the Giants making the playoffs. But
so
it works in the NFL.
Going through all that, are we back off of the draft the first round quarterback train now?
I think we are, because I don't think they're going to have a top 5 or top 3 pick where after Lawrence and Fields, like it's a kind of a big drop. I know I'm not the biggest college football connoisseur, but from what I've read, it's a big drop. Is it not?
Yeah, but no, yeah, I would agree as of right now. But so if you could get Fields, would you still?
I think I don't know. You'd have to ask me at the end of the year.
That's fair. Again,
if Jones goes the rest of the year and he plays the way he did against Washington and the Philadelphia, and he doesn't throw the ball over and doesn't kill you, I'll give him another year. I'm not signing him to an extension. I would never do that at this point.
Yeah,
but I'll give him a 3rd year.
Yeah,
so I don't know. I think I'm backing off a little bit. If they lost those last 2 games and they're right in the thick of things with the Jets for Lawrence, I'm waving the white flag. I'm saying get Trevor Lawrence.
And I think that is a very smart approach about it. Obviously, first off, saying got to wait till the season's over. We're a weekly podcast, so we don't have that luxury. We're going to obviously overanalyze everything. But yeah, I mean, I think he's doing a little bit to alleviate kind of the stress on him and the pressure on him in his hot seat. But and again, I think that's just a tip of the cap to the defense too. I mean, you holding teams to 17, 20 points like that makes you as a second-year quarterback very comfortable. So we'll see kind of how they handle the Bengals, who are a little bit more of a dynamic offense, a little bit, not much, but Joe Burrow I think is a little bit better than a Carson Wentz or can do a little bit more that excites you. So we'll see. And I mean, I have some more faith in Daniel Jones than I did say 3 weeks ago because
Yeah,
I wrote him
I
off.
agree 100%. I think I trust Daniel Jones more now, a lot more now than I did a month ago, or even 3 weeks ago. I was running him out of town 3 weeks ago, but that's just the way I am. Everybody knows
I'm
that.
with you there too.
Let's move on to the NFC South. What a difference a week makes, because last week the Saints destroyed the Buccaneers, and we were like, "What is this? The Saints are going to run away with this thing." And Brady's looked really bad. Blah 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 blah. Now the Buccaneers destroy the Panthers 46-23, and not only do the Saints win against the 49ers, but they lose Breeze for the foreseeable future. If you're New Orleans, if you're a New Orleans fan with Hill or Winston, are you pressing the panic button now that Breeze is gone?
No, because when you watch their games, Breeze doesn't do anything that really excites you. Like his arm is so weak right now. And luckily for him, they kind of cater the offense to him with a lot of slant patterns. They have very good wide receivers that have good yards after catch ability, and they're quick. But again, I think this is a very good system for Jameis to be in. There's no really kind of long developing bomb plays like he kind of had in Tampa. And obviously, he's not really going to be chasing a 14-point deficit because their defense is really good. So I think whoever it is, whether it be Taysom Hill or Jameis, and it looks like it's Jameis is getting the nod, I think they're going to fit right in. I mean, like there really isn't much about the Saints offense that is kind of too complex or that something that someone couldn't handle. That's my idea. So I don't think there'll be any kind of panic button by any means.
Lucky for them, they play the Falcons, who are 3-6 next week. So you
That's
kind
always
of
nice.
you're not playing like this crazy good defense that's gonna murder you if you're Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
So you get to ease yourself back into the starting lineup. But you say what you want about Breeze and how he's not the quarterback he wasn't on. That's all true. But
Yeah.
there's still a chemistry factor with that team, and that team goes
Yeah.
where Drew Brees takes them. That's the way it's been for
Yeah.
a decade now, right? In the
Mhm.
NFL. So it's still a big loss for them not to have Drew Brees.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It's much easier. It was probably going to be much easier to overcome it had this injury been 5 years ago.
Yeah. I think we're really gonna see.
You still think they're the favorites to win the division in the end?
God, Tampa Bay, they're killing me, and Brady specifically. I can't,
every other week.
because you got to realize that they still let up a ton of points to Carolina.
Mhm.
Carolina is not really the best team by any means, and that was without McCaffrey. So their defense is like they're very strange. Again, that performance against Green Bay it just makes no sense to me. I honestly think that was an anomaly, and I was really big on their defense. I mean, I have them in fantasy, and that one game has kind of given me hope for them and for the team to win the division. But again, I think you're going to see an even playing field between them, the Saints, and Tampa Bay. But I think you got to give the edge to the Saints now. I mean, they have a defense, which is something that I think every playoff team is going to need. And I really think Jameis is going to do admirable in that system.
You think Jameis is going to be fine?
Yeah, I really do. Because I think this is a little bit more simple of a system.
You think they're making the right choice with him as the starter instead of Hill?
Oh yeah, I'm not really a believer in kind of Taysom Hill as a full-time quarterback. I think where he shines is kind of his gimmick plays. You could call it a gimmick, but like it's more deception, and it's like he gets the ball, like he doesn't really throw it that many times, and if he does, it's like a surprise. Like he's more kind of run first. So I think they're just going to plug him in. You're still going to have Taysom Hill in as his kind of deception role and gimmick role, because if he's not in, then you're losing that whole aspect of games where that like 3rd and 1, you bring in Taysom Hill and you're like, oh shit, what are we doing there? But if he's in there full time, who knows what he does for 50 plays? And obviously, from a running standpoint, you give him say 20 rushes, quarterback rushes, opposed to just like the 5 to 10 that he gets. I don't think they're going to be as effective. And then teams can kind of game plan for that.
And I think it's important. Something you said, you wrote about it, and we said it right before we started recording this. Like, it's good that the Saints were prepared with this situation, because everybody gets hurt. Like, injuries are not new to the NFL. So especially at the quarterback position, with Breeze out, if they didn't have a Winston or a Hill, they'd be dead, right?
Yeah.
So now that they have a quarterback with starting experience, I'm not going to say that they're going to not miss a beat without their Hall of Fame quarterback because I don't think that's fair to Drew Brees, who's a first ballot guy. But
hmm
it'll be easier to take now that they have a solid backup. And I think that's something that all NFL teams need to be prepared for moving forward
Yeah,
because a lot of these quarterbacks now, they're not just pocket passers. They're not an Eli or a Peyton kind of
yeah,
guy or a Brady kind of guy. They're guys that like to run around. And if you run around, you're going to get hurt sometimes. And I think
yeah.
like something that you've been meaning to talk about here is that,
hmm
you got to be prepared for these injuries.
Yeah, so I have a list of just a couple quarterbacks that I'll get to in a quick second. But going back to the Giants a little bit, it's like, yes, it's awesome that the Daniel Jones is kind of running a good amount, but obviously with that is he's going to take some hits, which 100% makes him more prone to an injury happen. So it's kind of one of those situations. And obviously it's a little different with the Dolphins and Tua because he's coming off a hip injury. I don't want him getting touched at all. Like not at all. Like if it means throwing it away on second down opposed to maybe kind of scrambling out, it's like I'd rather you just get it done within the confines of the pot. Me personally. And as far as this player's, say, 10-year career, I think that is a smarter bet on the guy who's going to do what he needs to do inside the pocket for the next 10 years. Because, I mean, you saw with RG3, I mean, you look at right now, Big Ben, he's had a torn meniscus and an elbow surgery dating back to 2016. Stafford had spine and back surgery in 2019. Tannehill's had a torn ACL. He's hurt his shoulder. Cam Newton's hurt his shoulder. He's had concussions, fractured ribs. Aaron Rodgers has had shoulder, collarbone twice. Teddy Bridgewater, torn ACL. I mean, Jimmy G, another torn ACL. Carson Wentz, torn ACL, and he hurt his back. And we just saw Nick Foles get hurt. And it's just, you're seeing so many guys get hurt. I mean, and not even to mention the running back position. Those guys get hurt all the time. All the time. All it takes is one kind of bad hit, not even for like an ACL and stuff like that, but just a concussion. It really is crazy. And it's like you're seeing that these guys are getting hurt. And some of those of the guys that just named are just pocket passers. Is that really what you want your quarterback to be going through and even put him at more of a risk for an injury? Unless you have a contingency plan in place. But I really don't think this whole kind of mobile quarterback thing is the best idea. At least a run first quarterback. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you got the game over your shoulder with Lamar Jackson. Like the Ravens don't trust Jackson in the air.
Yeah,
they don't. They expect him to do these checkdowns, these slants, and then break one, once or twice a game. But in the grand scheme of things, who's won the Super Bowl like that?
I know.
I mean, you can make the argument that this has been an evolving position. We haven't seen quarterbacks like this before in the history of the game. But until
maybe that's for a reason.
Until it happens, like we've seen these kind of guys before. Michael Vick, we saw RG3, we saw all these guys that like to run around.
Yeah.
College, style offenses, they've all been translating to the NFL. And now because of that, if that's going to be the evolution of the NFL and the NFL offense, you need to be prepared for your quarterbacks to get hurt. And you need to
100%.
Because in college, these offenses are fine. And if their quarterback gets hurt, they have another, 5-star recruit ready to back them up. Because that's just the way the recruiting process works. That's how these, rosters are built through recruiting and all that stuff. NFL is not like that. A lot of the backups historically have been, journeyman, okay, Josh McCown kind of guys.
Yeah, fifth round quarterbacks.
Or washed up guys like Sanchez. Those have been the prototypical backup quarterback. Joe Flacco now. Those have been the prototypical backup quarterbacks. Now you need your backup quarterback to be able to play a little bit and to win games. And the issue is, in my opinion, when it comes to that, is that you're going to have to convince guys who want to start and who have the capability to start to back up. And we've seen that with Fitzpatrick. It's not hard for these guys to accept because they're professional athletes. They have really big egos. They're very confident in their abilities.
Yeah, and they want to play.
I think eventually, if this is the way the NFL is going to go with their offenses and their quarterbacks, it's going to be hard to let guys, or hard to convince guys to be backups unless you throw like a boatload of money at them. And people don't want to pay their backup quarterback.
Yeah. And then even more so, usually teams only carry 2 quarterbacks. Now you're gonna have to start seeing teams carry 3 to game day. So that's just eating another position of need, say, somewhere else on the defense or offensive line or whatever.
Or
But
what you can also do is not have a starting quarter. Well, you're gonna have a starting quarterback, the guy that gets the bulk of the carries. You would have to make your backup quarterback an integral part of the offense, and not just a clipboard holder every single week.
like a
What
Taysom
we
Hill,
call
I
it,
guess you could,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
To keep them
It just
happy.
yeah. I just like when I think about that, it's just like that. I'm not in love with that. Like even like with the Saints, it's like 3rd and 4 and Drew Brees is off the field. It's like what? Like
Yeah.
imagine the
Well, if you have the
say.
Hall of Fame quarterback, you're never going to do that. But if you have like a guy like Carson Wentz on the Eagles who's struggling a
Mhm,
lot, Hurts maybe not be the starter now, maybe not just bench Wentz altogether, but you
mhm,
should give him a little bit, give Hurts a little bit more of an opportunity to put the ball in the air and make a play, rather
mhm.
than have Hurts under center, have Wentz lined up as a receiver, which is stupid, never works,
Yeah,
and then just have
I
Hurts
hate that too.
just
Yeah.
Hurts do something because
Mhm.
Wentz isn't doing anything. So what's the big difference if Hurts doesn't do anything? At least give him the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of I'm with you there for the most part too. It's yeah, like a lot of these guys you see specifically with the Eagles too. I think given the opportunity, you'd kind of be surprised what they do. And I mean, that's kind of been my motto with running backs, especially. I think there's a shit ton of guys who can run the ball well, but they just need the opportunity. And again, we keep talking about injuries and stuff like that, which still to me proves I want to diversify my running back room. To me, that again, and I've had to eat my words a little bit because you're seeing Kamara ball out, and you're seeing well, not see and McCaffrey on the flip side. He gets used a ton, he gets hurt. And then it's like, all right, you see Dalvin Cook ball out, but he had 30 rushes yesterday for like 96 yards. So 96 yards is nice, not 30 rushes. That's ridiculous to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to have someone else who could run the ball. Like you cannot tell me that Dalvin Cook on his 27th rush of the game is better than whoever their backup is, who actually I remember being pretty good on his 5th rush of the game. I that's it's just human nature. I really don't think you can convince me that it's true.
Let's wrap this episode up with the last undefeated team in the NFL, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. We ended last episode, I believe, with the Steelers as well, but they're
Mm-hmm.
undefeated and they deserve to be talked about. They beat the Bengals 36-10. Their upcoming schedule is Jaguars, Ravens, Washington, Bills, Bengals, Colts, Browns to end it. Where is this a loss for the Steelers? Are they going to go 16-0? Are they going to do it?
I I think I think the Bills is going to be their toughest matchup,
Mm-hmm.
but it's again we talk about how to say like statistically 16-0 is like almost an anomaly,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like when you really go through these games, like Bengals aren't giving them fits, the Browns aren't giving them fits, the Jaguars clearly aren't giving them any fits,
Ravens on a
Washington
short week
either.
is a toss up to me. That
Yeah, well,
that's
the
hard.
Ravens have a lot to prove. Yeah, I think so.
But
Ravens,
again, we just got
Raven,
done saying Jackson doesn't play well when everyone's out.
yes, and to me, they have such a dynamic defense that none of those teams besides the Bills, I think, would really scare me. I don't
What's
really see
what's
even the Colts.
more likely? Steelers loss or Jets win?
Um, I think. Ooh, let's think about this a little bit. Well, let me just quickly check that that Jets that
They
Jets
have Flacco
schedule.
this week because Darnold's out again.
I saw that. Yeah, he's still out. I think. I gotta say, more likely is a Steelers loss
Really?
because I mean I don't really see the Jets. Take that back. Take that back.
Okay.
Jets play the Chargers this week, or yeah, this week the 22nd. Yeah, this is the week the Jets are going to win. It
With
almost
Flacco,
happened last week. Yes, with Flacco against Herbert and the
home
Chargers.
or away?
Chargers defense is ass. It we got at Los Angeles, which I think is better. It'll be warm.
I don't
I
know,
think
man.
I think Flacco's going to let it eat.
I mean, the Chargers defense is bad, but like Joe Flacco and the Jets offense isn't good at all.
No, but that Jets Patriots game, like you take away that one terrible pick that Flacco threw for whatever reason with 5 minutes left on the first
Mhm.
play of that drive, that changed the whole game.
That's
I think they'll be able to kind of figure out the Chargers defense.
I'm gonna go Steelers loss. They have a few games that worry me. If I'm
Hmm.
well, nothing worries me when you're 9-0, nothing's gonna worry you.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens on a short week can scare you, even though they're home. I think the Ravens are gonna have something to prove, but we'll see. Until Jackson does something in prime time, I'm gonna believe that the Steelers will pull it off. I think the Bills are a tough game, and I think they might just throw away Week 17
Hmm.
because I don't think Tomlin cares about 16-0. I don't think it bothers him. I think he wants his guys ready for the playoffs.
Especially like you're going to put Roethlisberger out there in a
Yeah.
meaningless game when you already have it locked up. Like
Mhm.
I think you're going to see the whole team sit.
Yeah.
Like why would you play them? Why?
Also,
And make
the Colts aren't terrible.
no
And then,
Colts were an interesting one.
yeah, and then they play the
But
Bengals. It's hard to sweep all these teams in your division.
no, I don't see like if they beat the Ravens, it's like really Browns and Bengals.
I think the
They were
Jets
not
can
going to
win that
scare me.
last game against the Patriots in Week 17.
Yeah, I mean, you by then you could see maybe no Cam Newton because obviously you're assuming they're not going to have anything to play for. So it's like, why are you going to even give Cam Newton this last game? Like for what? Like you already had 15 games. You can give it to say Stidham and say here's your last tryout too.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens.
Interesting one.
You
Yeah,
have
that we
the
will.
Jaguars Week 11. That I'm fairly confident will be a win.
I
But you
would
never know.
have to agree.
But the Jaguars, they're on that the Lawrence train too. They're trying their hardest to get there too.
They're near and close.
They need the Jets to win one.
Mm-hmm.
They need that win, but I don't know. I can't with the Jets. I don't want to talk about them ever again the rest of my life.
They ruin everybody's day.
They ruin everyone's day. I think about them once and I'm just like, I just want to blow my brains out. Like they talk about, I was listening to the fan and then they say, "Oh, the Jets," and I'm like, I don't want to do it.
No, there's just not,
It's
there's
not good for your
nothing.
mental health.
Yeah,
Not good
just
for your
call what
mental
it
health.
is.
That is according to Jamal Adams. Did you hear about this?
I that was interesting to me.
That was
And
I was like,
he
really,
literally
Jamal? Really?
he was so I guess just upset with playing there that he asked for a trade. Like you really got to think like is Adam Gase the worst
So,
head coach in the
like,
history
the
of football?
story is, for those who don't know, like he did an interview on a podcast, not this
Mhm.
podcast, unfortunately. We'd love to have him.
We love to have him.
But he basically said, "Yeah, I was depressed playing for the Jets. Like, I would after a loss, I would like go in my room and shut all the lights off and turn the TV off and just sit in my bed under my blanket because I was so depressed and blah 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 blah." And in today's society, depressed is a very delicate word to use. I don't know if
Hmm.
that's the word he should have chose. He was sad that he was always losing. But
Hmm.
apparently, like, his father got on the phone with his agent and be like, "Get him out of here," and blah blah blah. But then I was listening to the Michael K show today and said, if you hated being a Jet so much, why did you say, "Give me this money"? Say, "Get rid of me." Don't say, "Give me this
Yeah,
money." But something I thought that was interesting. But Jamal Adams
yeah.
went to Seattle, and they're better than the Jets, but he's
Hope
has
he's
a
yeah,
playbook. And the
yeah.
Seahawks are in danger of not making the playoffs, possibly.
Yeah, I think we could safely say the Jets kind. I mean, obviously we'll see how the draft picks pan out, but as of right now, you would say the Jets kind of won that deal
They
and by a
definitely
good
won.
amount. Yeah.
I think the public bashing of them was just because it's another Jets thing. Another superstar guy doesn't want to be on the Jets, and that's bad
Yeah.
optics from a fan and media perspective on the organization.
Hmm.
But in terms of like the X's and O's and a team that's not ready to win yet, there's no
Yeah.
reason to have him here. So I think the Jets did a good job. We'll see what their draft picks turn out to be with that
And their
deal
coach. Yeah.
and their coach. We'll see how that all transpires. But just to get rid of that, kind of like the Giants with Beckham, even though I
Yeah.
still would have traded Beckham, like
Yeah.
those kind of things,
Like
it is what it
you
is.
get it. Yeah, you get it.
I
I'm
get
with
it.
that.
So that will just about do it for this episode of Ice the Kicker. Next week, we will review week 11 and preview the always entertaining Thanksgiving games. There's
Hmm.
only 3 this year. Normally there's 4, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll
But
have to
this
do
year
a nice.
there's 3. COVID ruins everything, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So we will have all of that next week, and we'll have a clearer picture where the Giants and Dolphins stand in their playoff hunt. So until then,
Can't wait.
for Matt Farrar, my name is Glen. We'll see you on the next episode of Ice the Kicker.